Welcome to another beautiful day of the Overwatch League here in Summer Showdown Qualifiers. It's the second week, the end of the second week here in the Eastern Division. We're going full Roman today. It's Avrilius with Legis Deus, and we're here to do gladiatorial combat with two of great matches, Guangzhou versus Philly, Shanghai versus Chengdu. And only one can come out alive. No, it's not a battle royale, but there will be two winners, actually.
Well, yeah, there also might be only one coming out alive when it comes to qualification for the Summer Showdown, Avril, especially in our first matchup here. Guangzhou Charge and Philadelphia Fusion in our standings, currently tied at that illustrious 4th spot, which just about squeaks you into our tournament bracket. And both of our teams, I believe, are 1 and 2 at the moment, so whoever pulls ahead in this match is going to be a shoo-in for getting that seed.
Yes, as I take a look at the standings so far, I believe this will be the season standings, so we are playing for Summer Showdown qualification as well as qualification into both playoffs and the play-ins. And the only team that will miss out of the play-ins is going to be whoever remains in the 7th seed. Currently that sits the Guangzhou Charge at a 2-13 record. That's 2 points so far. Valiant 3-13, only 1 point ahead of them so far. So the results from this particular stage have major implications as far as who will be making end-of-year activities, and it really is just a Valiant and the Charge kind of battling it out between the two of them to escape number 7. You know, the other teams, Chengdu Hunters, Philly Fusion, they've all basically escaped that kind of bottom 2 area for now. I mean, 4 points ahead of the Valiant. It will be very difficult for either of those two teams to be able to catch up. But as far as Summer Showdown goes, like it's still open at the moment. We have a lot of teams that can still make it.
Yeah, Guangzhou Charge at the bottom of the bracket there, but we've got plenty to talk about with this team. Let's bring up our stars when we talk about the attendance at the Summer Showdown itself, Avril, is conducive to getting an extra point in your column without even having to win a game. So Charge would very much love that, to try and get ahead of Valiant and try and knock them back into the 7th spot. Here's a quick look at your stats. Of course, a couple of new faces to the Guangzhou Charge who have been grinding out on Up Academy down in Korean contenders and bringing a good understanding of the meta with them as they come up to the main team.
When you look at these results as well so far in their debuts for the Overwatch League, 1 and 2, as already mentioned in this particular stage. They lost to the predictable frontrunners of Seoul and Shanghai in the sense that they didn't take a single map off of them. Realistically, nobody has. So far, I think Philly took a map off of Shanghai yesterday, so that was the first map that's been lost between either of those two teams. They did beat the LA Valiant, so we talk about them getting ahead of the Valiant. That is one way that that can happen. Keep the Valiant down, keep your own points up, and now they face Philly today, where they're currently equal in score lines as far as the Summer Showdown qualification is. So let's take a look at Philly now, who themselves, as mentioned, the game versus Shanghai. Yes, they did take that map number 1, but the other 3 maps did not go their way. In fact, I'd say the deeper the series went, the more dominant Shanghai got, as Lip just kind of destroyed this team. But from Philly Fusion, I think a much better matchup for them today. Guangzhou is a far more beatable team for them. And the rest of their schedule as well, you know, Philly still have Seoul to look forward to and Hangzhou to look forward to. So from here on out, you know, really for them, 3-3, as I said to Trid yesterday, is what I think the magic number is. Like, as far as your record needs to be to make it through. 2-4, probably not good enough in APAC. 2-4 in NA is probably good enough to at least make 7th or 8th. But in APAC, with only 4 teams going to Summer Showdown, I think you need 3-3.
Yeah, when you go 2-4, you're definitely thinking about our lower-ranked teams like Valiant and Guangzhou maybe being able to sneak ahead of you in places. And especially if you lose to Guangzhou here, that would be a major tailspin for the Philadelphia Fusion, because Guangzhou is one of the teams that are nipping at their heels and are in one of those 2 spots that when they get to go over to the Summer Showdown. Because we've got to admit, Seeds 1 and Seeds 2, they're pretty much locked in right now for Seoul and Shanghai.
Yeah.
It's going to come to determine which of them grabs number 1 and which grabs number 2, but between that pair, they are locked in for Summer Showdown.
And I think that between both teams, like, this is probably their most winnable game, right? For Philly, Guangzhou is, as far as power rankings or standings goes, Charge is still number 7. So for Philly being, where are they right now? They're quite a bit further up in 4th, at least the season standings goes. Also 4th, actually, in the current stage standings, but only ahead by Guangzhou by 1 map. I mean, Guangzhou is actually only 5th in stage standings, so they're not too shabby. They did beat Valiant. You'd like to... This is another test, though, because, you know, when we see these two teams lose to the likes of Seoul and Shanghai, it's like, well, okay, we expected that. Well, now what happens when they play other teams? And other teams, most importantly, is a matchup like this, where both teams still have Hangzhou left to play, Guangzhou still has Chengdu left to play, and Philly still has Seoul left to play. So, to kind of reach that 3-3 when you're only at 1 and 2, this has to be one of those 3 wins. and then ideally you're beating one of those other 2 opponents that are listed as well. But at minimum, even if you don't get 3 and 3, a 2-4 you might squeak in if a whole bunch of other teams are also at 2-4, and we rely on tiebreakers. So you got to get your 1 extra win somewhere in the next 3 games, and for both these teams, that 1 extra win, the best chances now.
Yeah, 6th might well just be locked in for LA Valiant, simply because both of these teams in 4th and 5th have defeated LA Valiant in a 5-map series, so their head-to-head record certainly beat out Valiant there, and I believe Valiant are now 0-4, which is not ideal considering the growth that they've had this year. Maybe just not their meta. We're going to head into our first map here, Avril, starting off on Control, of course, and we're heading over to the newbie in the map's pool in this tournament, and that's Nepal.
Yep. Start that out, and you can see Gibraltar in there as well. I haven't seen that for a while. That'll be fun. I wonder how long this one will go. You know, I think this has the capability of some distance being gained. We've had a plentiful 3-0 so far in our 2 weeks of APAC, and I mean, I don't even know that we've had that many. Yeah, we've had like a 3-2. Philly did have a 3-2. Actually, Guangzhou had a 3-2. The common denominator there is actually the Valiant. The Valiant like to go to 5, so both the teams that have played the Valiant have gone to 5. So we'll see how this goes now, as everyone's playing the expected heroes. We did actually see Jimu play a Farah here, but no, Chengdu's not in this matchup here today. Zest is thinking about it, and he will unlock it. He is going to go for that Farah.
All right. Not the most common pick from Zest, known to be an incredible Genji, but may believe that outpacing the Guangzhou Charge here in terms of a damage versus for healing might be the key to success. Krong already going in super deep.
Okay, let's take a look at the opening damage here. Choice of One's actually the member that's quite low. Farway taken down nice and early. It's traded instantly by Jimmy, so still a 4v4 situation.
Carpe, for now, looking out for targets, and it's usually do have the initial positioning on the point. However, they don't have the members to really hold it. AimGod simply awaits execution, as it's going to be a quick slide away from Carpe, and Jimmy has his space and his time here to build up towards the rail. The last few targets will present themselves, and it's down to Choice here one to shepherd them out of this zone and allow for Guangzhou to get the first cap, although at the cost of Jimmy's life.
Carpe will respond pretty quickly here, so maybe the flip over for the Fusion will be on the menu today. 4 members try and clean through. It is a bit of a struggle here for Philly to get those members down, and as they struggle, the flip does not just come through until now. 12% should be taken over in just a short while, and after that flip comes the kills. Finally, it's Zest, it's fixed it. It should be Guangzhou out of this fight.
Interesting to note as well, Zest actually swaps over from the Farah very early. Of course, in our current build, DPS managed to carry over at least 30% of their ult charge from their previous hero to the new one, which means Zest didn't really lose out in the race for the
fact. He's actually ahead of Choi's by a slight margin. He was. Choi hit another couple shots there. They're neck and neck now, but for a play that actually ended up maybe losing a bit of ult charge, I can't remember what percentage he swapped back on. Maybe he actually didn't lose any, who knows. He swapped pretty quickly, in all things considered. Here is the first ultimate's on board for either team. It's double support ultimate's about to be online for both teams. Xerneas will pop the beat first. The Farway to probably respond with a rally. Fixer doesn't save Hero, which is a little bit unfortunate. The Farway has his rally cancelled.
However, on the other side, there is a rail charged up. Zest wouldn't allow it to be let loose. A well-placed slice cleaves Jimmy in twain. And that's going to be, once again, Philadelphia Fusion settling into a comfortable defensive posture. And Choice here one is staggered for good measure.
Okay, well, you lose Fury, but Zest pulls Blade and gets 2. So you do enjoy that. And the extra, again, rally from Farway didn't get any value there. Instantly sliced down, and got in Fixer still managed to get theirs despite Fury going down, and we are getting into quite a bit of a lead now. It will be Blade time for Choice of One in response, with freshly no support ultimates on the side of Fusion to do anything about it, so it will come down to how Fury and the rest can handle this. Maybe a good boot from AimGod or Fixer can disrupt Choice of One. HP will be a factor as well. Zest down early.
Question is, does Choice of One want to bring in the Blade right here? Looking for targets towards the back. At the moment, it's all about pressure on the point to drag people in. Blade is unsheathed. Carpe in his sights, but the evasion's too good. And the boot follows up. The dash reset given over, though, by Xerneas. Locking onto the targets. What a Lucio Warlord that he is. Formerly known as Evaltol, currently known as Killing It. Fragging out on the Lucio, but this needs to be a flip, and it needs to be a flip now.
Yeah, so 99% still gain for the Fusion there. Xerneas with 3 in the fight. A lot of damage. Front-loaded by Choice of One, cleaned up by Xerneas, and now a long road to recovery. It's about a 79% deficit that they'll have to come back in. It's a decent amount of fights available for the Fusion. Rampage versus Rampage to come through. Krong kind of trailing behind a slight little bit here. We'll be able to get this in the middle of the fight. Jimmy still, though, able to hold down the fort in either case. Here comes an overclock now. Instant value found on Fixer. Aim got pretty low as well. Responded by Carpe, so it's a 4v4, and this is the opportunity. Now Fury can turn this around. Triple hood on the Rampage.
Everyone's at the window. Krong may well have hit the axe, but there's no bleed healing to be done. You can drain all that you wish, and Choice here one certainly starts to exsanguinate Zest. Unfortunately, too many of his fellows have fallen on down, and this should be an easy flip over in favor of a Philadelphia Fusion. Choice here one will be clocked on his way in. Tango down, potentially. There's the reflect, and yes, the Disruptor Shot comes on in, but I don't think it can contest Avril. Oh, what a move.
Now Krong's too far away. Jimmy's booped away anyway, and the rest of the frags would come through regardless. Krong would need to hit a ton of players on the Rampage with control the point somehow, and it's just not gonna happen. We saw the Rampage from Fury get hits onto 3. Jimmy is shut down. The Charge can do nothing about it, and that is where I think Krong, unfortunately being slightly behind Fury, does cost the Charge ever so slightly. They were also just behind by way too much as far as percentage goes, and Fusion getting their way to 99. That's just too much of a lead for the Charge to handle here. So an early 1-0 start on Nepal as we head into Sanctum. If Zest wanted to start on the fire on Village, fair chance that you could go fire again on Sanctum. This is actually the other reasonable fire map within the 3 set that we do have on Nepal, but he'll opt against it. Genji has been too good for Zest today. It's been his bread and butter the entire way through the season as well.
Yeah, Zest really has impressed us as a rookie with his outgoing play on the Genji, whether it be in international tournaments or just domestically here in APAC, Avril.
See how this opening skirmish goes. It is a lot of damage to Fury straight up. Xerneas always vigilant and looking for those boop angles. We'll potentially find one at aim guard. You have to be a little bit careful here as well because Zest comes in from the back. It's aim guard down first. No responses just yet. Well, there we go. Fixer and Carpe. And suddenly the fight just flips on its head for the Guangzhou Charge. Jimmy the only one alive and also go down here. So it'll be a 5-1 trade if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Jimmy even gets staggered as the cap comes on through.
In this case, Fixer managed to find himself a better boop, and now a choice lies before the Philadelphia Fusion as to how aggressive they want to be in holding this choke point. Already Choice A1 has moved in with a dash. That's a little bit haphazard after all. And Zest, however, is just going to be warded away for the moment by Xerneas.
Should give the Guangzhou Charge the opportunity to push out of this opening lobby. Looks like they'll be opting for the drop-down side, so not really the coastal side. They're actually splitting their attention a reasonable amount here. The longer this goes, the faster Zest gets a blade, and usually you do get a second neutral before any ultimates do come online, but Zest is just so far ahead of everybody else right now, notably above the supports of the Guangzhou Charge as well. So we kind of need to get this counter in there. Zest low HP, this is the Charge coming in, potentially getting the opening first blood.
Oh, and that is going to be a trade straight away. Choice hit one down, yes, but Fury's down too. Aim God is gone, so the burst healing of a repair pack has been lifted from the shoulders of the Philadelphia Fusion. Yes, the axe isn't long enough for Krong, but the radius of a shout may well be. Reinforcing the health bars of the Guangzhou Charge as Zest looks for a place to try and put this blade, but his HP simply can't sustain him. Instead looking for maybe a return of a Brigitte for an armor pack, but his co-contester and Fixer was slain by the other Lucio.
Trying to, I believe, still maintain a little bit of control and presence on that point itself, but that will get flipped over now with plenty of ultimates available for the Guangzhou Charge. So that very early lead on the blade does nothing for Zest with the Fusion. 2 members taken down. Sound Barrier does not save everybody on the Philadelphia Fusion. Charge with the opening damage, and now again with the opening damage on especially Fury. Just gets to walk on forward, and Fusion can do very little about it here. Comes a Rampage that Krong had been waiting to use since Village. Instantly flags down Fury. Zest can only try to respond to Blake. Can he get any kills though?
Looks like Zest is only finding over health that's been provided by Guangzhou Charge. Now, once again, it's going to be a stick of a knife into the Brigitte, and that forces Aim God to bash away with the shield. Once more back to the drawing board for Philly.
So this time around, very late Rampage Charge for Fury, so he's monstrously behind, like 27-28% behind even when Krong actually used that ultimate, and now they're just down to only the overclock while they wait for Fury to arrive. It's Choi and Jimmy that can respond to the opposite end with Fusion still trying to come out of the lobby for now. Jimmy wants to overclock. I think that's Fury pushed out as well.
Okay, the call was given there by Guangzhou Charge, but these guys are in for a 2 versus 2. Their disengagement path might be picked off by Jimmy. Unfortunately, no headshots to be gained, and so it's only... Oh, Xerneas caught by Carpe. Let me show you how it's done, son. Now Carpe has his own overclock to try and make things work, but I think it's going to be surplus to requirements after all. Carpe's began aiming, and that is my hit scan.
Yeah, the Fusion do enjoy it when Carpe begins aiming.
that is a Pog moment.
Ooh, Carpe begins aiming. He does get that kill when it rains. It does pour, as a single fragment of Xerneas will get converted into an entire team fight when multiple members of the Charge down. I don't even know if anyone made it out, but it won't matter at this stage, as we have another equalization of the control percentage, 81 per side. Still waiting for that blade from Choice F1, and wait too long. Fixer will have the sound barrier available. Fury has now definitely caught up on that rampage, and as Carpe overclocks, seems like Charge want to play this one slowly. They don't want to play into the overclock just yet, waiting it out.
This might be a problem though, Avril. 95% on the clock. It might well be a mad dash for Choice A1 with this blade. He doesn't want to be the one to contest, so Xerneas has put his life on the line. Oh, the repair pack comes on through. The anti as well from Fury. The timing is there. Choice A1, he simply can't find the target. But Fury, yes, he is Furiosa, and this is a Fury road to 1-0. But Philadelphia Fusion are going down full speed ahead.
Yep, 2-0 on the map there for Nepal as well. It was close for the Guangzhou Charge. They were even leading on control points at one stage, but can't close it out. You have the very important, I think, Carpe kill for Xerneas, which sets the stage for the Fusion comeback on Sanctum, and from there they held control Charge, failed to really get back on, find any important fights. And Choice F1, the final blade to send it home for the Guangzhou Charge, no good. Doesn't really come out until it's far too late. Fury, as you mentioned, already did the damage. Rampage already won the entire map for them, and the Philly Fusion off to a great start. 1-0 leg day. We'll take a quick break here, but we will come back. Let's head over to the sunny shores of Rio de Janeiro. So we'll see you soon. Back for more Overwatch here in the Overwatch League. Ready for map number 2 here after Fusion take a fairly decisive 2-0 on Nepal to lead the series, currently 1-0. And again, like there, this is a very important match for both of our teams, given that they are equal in scoreline and points for qualification into the Summer Showdown. For Guangzhou, this could be their first ever event made this year. And if they don't make this one, well, there's not going to be a tournament in the Countdown Cup. And for playoffs, already discussed that. Guangzhou would have to escape 7th place, so a long road ahead of them if they don't make this tournament.
Yeah, the bonus point for being able to go to Summer Showdown, even if they don't place amazingly, would be critical in trying to outpace the LA Valiant, who are currently only 1 point ahead of them in our season standings, 2 points to 3. But the wins are few and far between for the Guangzhou Charge. And while I don't really want to single anyone out at the moment, I feel like when it comes to opening picks in these fights, which have been very instrumental in Philadelphia Fusion being able to break through a lot of these chokeholds, that start to become pretty viable for people like Krong when we see Guangzhou Charge manage to win overall fights. I think that Carpe's been doing a bit of a better job than Jimmy when it comes to getting these opening picks, and, well, Carpe's come out pretty hot today.
See if Jimmy warms up there, because yesterday, or in certain previous matches that we've seen, Jimmy, he was able to get a number of high-value opening picks as well, even over players like Fitz. So that has been the value of Jimmy on this roster. And again, for people that are still wondering when a Prit is going to end up playing, probably not in this meta, not in this stage. He's not going to get the debut just yet, because Jimmy has been firing out the better Sojin player for the Guangzhou Charge. And, you know, in past games, we can get the evidence and see for ourselves why. And that probably will end up continuing today. What I got to say about the Charge, though, in terms of a silver lining, a positive, is honestly, I think they've done well in some of the neutrals here. Sanctum started out very well for them. Just a couple of mistakes towards the end do cost them, and they get snowballed heavily by the Fusion, and then some interesting decision-making towards the end there, maybe a lack of confidence just to make a play happen. Does indeed end up not giving them a chance to go to the 3rd round of Shrine.
No 3rd round on the horizon. However, what is on the horizon are the beautiful beaches of Paraiso. We're heading over to Rio de Janeiro here for our hybrid map, and I haven't really... Have we seen many APAC Paraisos yet, Avril?
A few.
I know we've had it in
times.
Korean contenders quite a bit. How are you feeling about first point over here in APAC? Is it ironclad or toilet paper defense?
Sometimes, usually it doesn't really matter, because the better team has just won it. And the better team will both make it look ironclad on their A defense and paper thin when they attack. So 40 degrees there. That's what the temperature is in your room right now, isn't it? So
absolutely. With all these broadcast lights on in this small room, oh yeah, it's heating up, just as this series is about to. We're going to see a quick jump shot here from Carpe. Does anyone from Guangzhou Charge dare have a looky? The hit scan tested.
Zest will probably not stop. I don't think Zest will stay on this, because generally, well, he might, but generally speaking, Echo has been the preferred pick for A point if you are going to play a flyer, and I would have assumed that going fire here means that you were typically looking for the opening concussive blast and swapping back, but he is going to stay, contend, and with that, the Charge have mostly just backed off from the opening bridge.
Perhaps Zest here is thinking of demanding a lot of attention from Jimmy. Admittedly, the left click of a Soldier, not the most reliable at range for dealing with the Pharaoh, as it is projectile-based.
Low.
And yes, choice here one, even lower. Aim got managed to catch that out. Not the optimal in terms of locomotion from Zest, and now running out of fuel. Groundborn is the Pharaoh, and that's not the ideal place to be. Caught out by the Junker Queen, and we asked if Jimmy was going to show up, and he says, you bet I am. Choice A1 was surplus to requirement. It was all just Jimmy the whole time. Alas, there are multiple frags here from a Philadelphia Fusion, and Zernius is going to be able to find the cleanup here to make sure there won't be any long staggers.
And that means that with Fury and Fixer only coming back now, you see Zernius going for the taxi. Yeah, it's going to take a while for Philly to make use of any of the frags that they got, meaning that they won't really be able to. Carpe fighting on the sidelines behind the little board there. And not going to catch any players out, but we'll just hold ground for the rest of Fusion to come on through. You see that Zest has indeed swapped back over towards the Genji, so it does give up on the Pharah again. I was quite surprised that he would start on the Pharah. And it was, you know, produced some middling results, some okay results, but still could have been a bit better.
Zest, aggressive here, might well be punished for it. Here's the carnage, cuts through the Cyborg Ninja. You're going to need better armor than that to deal with my axe, says Krong. And now Choice One has a super safe area from which to poke from. He can freely transient between these high grounds and poke away to his heart's desire. And now he's so far ahead on the blade, Avril.
Everyone is. I mean, everybody on the charge is just kind of outpacing Fusion at this stage, maybe except for Krong. Fury did do a reasonable amount of damage, and, well, actually Fixer will get the sound barrier first, but as far as DPS goes, as far as the Brig goes, it's 3 out of 5 members in the charge that will indeed be ahead. Choi needs a little bit of help here. Shout's been expended on both sides. And Fusion, they're going to be able to walk in off that. It's going to be a rally coming on through into the blade.
Blade drawn out. Fixer does manage to land the sound barrier. Farway just went a touch too far. Now the rally's been expended and no more armor packs either. And so it's a tide of orange which begins to move on. Zest doesn't care for the blade, doesn't care for the overclock. This is an expensive fight to fumble for the Guangzhou Charge.
It's a triple ultimate fumble as well. So a couple of extra frags on top as garnish as the Fusion will be happily eating away that first meal of a point. And now getting ready for the main course as we head through the streets phase of Paraiso and for the charge as well. I mean, what is going on? Farway, rally gone, last choice of one, couldn't go forward on the blade, and Jimmy has the overclock cancelled immediately.
Oh, that's a beautiful move there as well. Gets Krong into no man's land, but instead of chasing after that tank, it is Farway who has drawn the ire of Zest, who believes that discretion in this case is going to be the better part of valor. Don't wish to die with the blade in hand, will prefer to take the longer poking fight here against a Guangzhou Charge, but don't have the point healing that the armor packs provide.
So free pushing at the moment. We'll see how much distance we can get here before Charge make a move. As the Rampages start coming online, that should be the expended ultimate for this next fight. And it'll be the Rally versus Sound Barrier to counter out as well. So Charge should have the better counterplay versus Fury here, but it also does come down to who pulls trigger first. It's quite low. That's an opening for the Charge to walk forward. If you're Krong right now, you should really be looking for this Rampage, given that Fusion have to stack around this payload in a very small choke over the lane. Some of the players, at least, not everyone, some of the players on the high ground.
Hoping to find the opening. Fury pulled back in, down to half health, but at the moment, Guangzhou Charge don't really wish to press the issue, instead just be prepared for wherever Philadelphia Fusion may decide to take this battle. And once more, we head into a stalemate as teams look for the best place to get value from their ultimates. Krong misses the first, and that's going to be MGod now engaging with the rally. Rampaging into this could prove fruitful, but was anyone even going to get hit? Yes, two. Carpe and MGod, but both are going to be fairly safe from this one. Fury caught in a corner, extricates himself using the Rampage, but it just ended up in enemy territory. Jimmy taken down at long range by the shotgun as Carpe decides that this is the moment, this is the time to try and make things happen. No expending of the rail here. 3 hostages on the football field. I'm afraid that one's going to be a foul, ref. He's definitely diving.
We've never played in this part of the map as well before. I mean, usually teams are never there, but we get to discover the small little football pitch on the side of the map as the Philly Fusion will come out alive. 2 supports dead for the Guangzhou Charge. And Fury getting the kill onto Jimmy as well to set the stage. The cap comes through. Charge. No, they did touch. Charge barely got the touch in there. So now the blade and the rally to maybe save the day. Fixer with the sound barrier, but it does not save Carpe. Kills still there for the Fusion. The Fusion are alive. They're ahead. It's only Jimmy. And Jimmy, despite killing Zest, it's not going to be enough. What was initially a great little potential to clutch there for the Guangzhou Charge, touching it, I believe, 0.66 meters remaining. Fusion will still come out ahead.
The number of the beast, but it was Philadelphia Fusion who went beast mode. Yes, it was expensive, Avril, but that's such a good fight to win. A full investment from both teams now means that Guangzhou Charge don't have the resources to buy a neutral fight to gain the high ground. Instead, they're suffering the poke to get up there first, and Zest is feasting upon those who present themselves.
Let's see what Fusion can do with about 2 minutes 30, I believe they started on, so it did go into overtime. Oh no, it didn't. It's about a minute off. In either case, 2:30 is good enough for a few attempts. Charge desperately need to reset the Fusion though.
This ends now.
Jimmy rolling in into aim. God, that's a lovely little headshot there. Goodbye to the repair packs, goodbye to the Inspire, and goodbye to the Philadelphia Fusion, who decide that, you know what, this one's a disengage, lads.
Jimmy really is that guy for the Charge at the moment. He is him. He is the one that
He
puts
is
the
that guy,
Fusion
pal.
down for one extra fight at least, which is why it was so impactful that Fury ended up killing Jimmy in the previous fight on B. Off the back of that Rampage. Not the biggest Rampage from either side, but Fusion will be the ones to get the Valley off the back of it. Farway checking the high ground currently, and AimGod will be the one that pops the rally forward. And with that, Choice of One's down. Fusion can walk forward 5v4. Zuni is unable to save Choi, and now Fury waits up the green HP, getting ready for Rampage. He will catch 2, and that should be the fight.
The speed of sound not fast enough. Xerneas played to death under the auspices of a rampage. And now Zest is simply left to pick up the pieces and feast upon the morsels left behind. Whether he's vulture or hyena, he's well fed today.
This will be the final approach now coming in as well. Triple pushing. Could be a 30 to 40 second time bank here. Charge have one good fight left in them. It'll be Carpe Zest on ultimates versus Choice of One. Krong desperately needing the rampage here as well. Low HP, barely kept alive by his own shout, but with that expended, can Charge do something of it? Zest is very much looking for that ultimate. He's only 6% away, but it might be over already because Carpe's already got 2. Carpe's looking for number 3, and there's just no response. Farway's dead, there's no rally. Choice of One's not going to be anywhere near a position to touch or blade or do anything with Zest. And Carpe getting the frags initially, I believe between them they got all 5. It was 3 for Carpe, 2 for Zest. They have a time bank of 31, so just above par from what my expectation was.
We said it on the poll, and it stands true on Paraiso. Carpe is aiming today. And Jimmy actually has comparable stats to Carpe, but I think that the clutch factor of Carpe in this particular matchup is winning out quite a bit. We are seeing Carpe not necessarily hit more shots than Jimmy, but hit the right shots. Like we saw that headshot come in onto Krong the second he was coming to engage on the cart, had to expend his shout early. And that means that because Krong's expended a shout, they can't punish over-aggression from Philadelphia if they don't have a speed boost.
I think there's 2 areas that Fusion are definitely getting a major advantage ahead of the Guangzhou Charge here. One of them is the Zest versus Choice in One matchup and the Fury versus Krong matchup, because you're right, Jimmy is actually competing fairly comfortably against Carpe. In fact, something that is really eye-opening for me is that they have very similar stats, but the big difference is that Carpe's only got 1 death and Jimmy's got 5. And with 4 extra deaths, Jimmy is still actually out-damaging Carpe and has 1 extra final blow than Carpe. So I think that's actually really impressive, given that he's died 5 times more than Carpe has. But Zest is heavily outperforming Choice in One here, and Fury is heavily outperforming Krong here. In fact, Fury's actually only died 1 time so far, so be able to watch out for that one, as when your tank is barely dying, that's usually a very good sign for your team. And we talked about the fact that there could be a Echo coming through on top of Zest play the Pharah on attack or play the Echo now on defense.
In terms of raw stats, this is one of the largest differentials in terms of damage I've seen between 2 Junker Queens. Fury doing about 40% more damage right now than Krong. 7k to 5k. Zest here on the Echo. No one is available for the focusing beam, yes, and Guangzhou Charge just run right past these defensive bulwarks to get on top of the point. There is going to be already... what a beam from Zest. Choice here, one's down. No more resets. It's going to be a fight in the pantry now, but I feel it's not going to be a good flavor or a good dessert for the Guangzhou Charge.
Kitchen's closed, Charge. Philly's coming in for the cleanup now. They got the mop. Got the bucket. Guangzhou Charge. They get swept up. So, mopped up, I should probably say. A minute left to go here. Brilliant stuff by Zest. You saw him flying over the top of the roof. Dive bombing on top of Choice One, who had no idea that Zest was there. And the beam from above cutting him down like a sky laser. That's going to be Charge. They're not heavily behind by ults so far. I mean, Choi's on a different hero than Zest, so that's not entirely comparable. So perhaps I think for Charge, the way open will be off the back of Jimmy. That's been their guy for the rails, for the opening frags. Zest is on the hunt.
Zest still has a flight as well if he needs to remove himself from some danger. Krong taking a little bit of damage here, but nothing too much for the healers to handle. Guangzhou Charge, they get their love taps in, and then they move over to a fresh engagement area. Actually, it's a double bluff coming on back. Jimmy's caught out in the background, but Zest was baited in, so Choice Here One finds the execution. This might be the time to turn it around for the Cyborg Ninja, often lauded as the best on the team. It's Sound Barrier for Sound Barrier, and Aim God rallies upon top. Lads, 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 we've all layered our support ultimates now, but the layer cake seems so delicious if you're a Guangzhou Charge fan, as Choice Here One moves in upon the blade. Support's in my sights, the corner isn't your friend, and Tester's only just moved back from respawn, but he's cut down into flavoring.
Yeah, Choice Here One saw that he didn't have the greatest performance on his opening defensive stats. Was looking like it as Zest, so now it's time to snap past, time to get some farming in there. He's catching up. Brilliant triple on the back of that Dragon Blade towards the end there. Aim got a fixer taken down. Importantly got Zest as well, because Zest has a duplicate available. Could have copied over towards the Junker Queen copy, and that would have given Fusion some extra legs in the fight. But Choice Here One shuts that play down entirely. And in fact, I think Choice Here One was the one that really opened it up for them, because Zest killed Jimmy, right? But Choi got the trade onto Zest, which was ever so important for Charge to get in.
That punish is so important against the Echo, which has only got that one flight cooldown, no reset upon that. Fury, ambitious when it comes to the Rampage, and sticks the landing. It's a 10 from the judges, and it's a gold medal when it comes to Rampage kills. Choice A1, his deflect will be expended, and that's going to be another stagger from Zest.
Now on the spawn as well, this is very spawn campable. As we are, we're in the Junker Queen meta, but we're also in the spawn camp meta. We are seeing far more spawn camps than we ever do in any era of Overwatch. Maybe Goats we saw plenty as well, but in this case we are definitely going to be trying to delay the Guangzhou Charge as much as possible. Jimmy likely is going to have to pop ult out of spawn Krong. Just a little bit off that Rampage for Choice F1 needs to be very careful, saved by the commanding shout. Aim gone, not so lucky. Choi pops off again.
Alright, Choi's had enough of being the stinker on this team. Zest moves inside, and it's time for Choi to feast. Your spawn camp means nothing to me, son. And the cart is back in motion, Avril.
I mean, especially with Zest now on the Echo, which is, in some ways a very safe pick, but doesn't have the raw execution, the raw pop-off potential, and certainly not the, the dashes being reset there, which gives you even more chances to just go all over the enemy team and have extreme value in terms of that level of impact. So Choice of One steadily now catching up to Zest, overtaking him, kind of commanding this game. See if Jimmy can do the same. It's Carthay versus Jimmy, double overclock's popped.
Overclock's expended, but it's Jimmy who hits 5 gigahertz, and Choice A1 is just swimming in those refreshes on the dash cooldown. All the way up to the sky goes Fixer, and this is a better time than Fusion had, Avril.
It's just better overall. It's about a minute better. I think Fusion had 2:30 going into C. This is Guangzhou Charge on 3:30. Just a little bit further on, so expectation now is that they have to be capping and finishing better time bank than Fusion. I don't know if they can get a 1 minute better time bank, but let's hope for a 30-second better time bank. So 1 minute to 30 seconds, which would I think give the teams about 1:30 to 1 when the dust settles and we head to the next round. That's really important now. Charge set themselves up to have a better performance on Paraiso than the Fusion. Can they actually close the book on it? Because that's been their struggle so far.
Critically though, Charge, they haven't actually made many inroads in actually contesting this high ground. Choice A1's going to invest to try and make it work. First boop expended, but it's dash after dash for Choice A1.
Yeah.
Oh, what an opening. What a way to play it.
Can't do that on Echo. That's why we're back onto
Avril.
the Genji. Zest is back on the Genji as well. Especially on the C, I think you don't want to be playing the Echo here anymore. He has at least nearly got the blade. That's the kind of fight we're looking for. And look at that. They're nearly on the last corner. They're about to make the final charge in. This could be much better than a 1 minute time back. But you have to hold your breath a little bit longer. Fusion have the ultimate. Zest has the blade upcoming. Sound barrier plus blade. I expect the Fusion to expend big time here. We'll be getting desperate to hold. Charge slowed down as well. And in some ways, if you're Charge, I think you just want to force this fight, force it dry, have the Fusion expend double ultimates, then come back with a better economy. You have the time to play through.
Can Fixer be forced into using this barrier while there's still room to disengage with Guangzhou is the question. Zest moving on in, trying to force something out.
Back up.
Oh, nearly a back cap, but Zest, as we go back to the blade, is hunting down Jimmy and finds his mark. The Apex Predator with the blade, Krong falls elsewhere, but remember, Guangzhou, like you said, Avril, they wanted to fight this dry. Unfortunately, they only got one of their ultimates out that they were hoping for.
Gotta get up clean. Gotta get up clean. Choi will fall, but at least Cernius will make his way onto the respawn. So 1:30 left now. We can still get maybe the 1 minute time back, but I alluded to it would require them to come through in this fight. The problem is in that last neutral that they play, they only managed to get the sound barrier. And while they got the blade of the Zest, Fury managed to get a Rampage. So as far as total ultimates for Fusion, that does not change. Still remains at 2. Charge failed to really get a lead. That's kind of what I'm talking about with the Charge, right? They can definitely get ahead of the Fusion as far as a better time bank here, looking better in some of the fights. But actually beating the Fusion, that was easier said than done on Nepal so far. At the minute mark now, so Charge, if they can equalize 30 seconds, that's probably the next goalpost.
Oh, there we go. The Rampage comes on through. 3 a hit.
Fixer!
Fixer
Oh my God,
can't get the
Fixer.
sound barrier out in time. Aim God does survive, yes, to start giving over that health, but it's Choice A1 with the blade who cuts a swathe through the Philadelphia Fusion, and Guangzhou Charge of a surplus of 15 seconds will clear.
Right. My goodness, Jimmy, he is him indeed. He got Fixer down, no sound barrier, no surf for the Philadelphia Fusion. And Aim God barely got a rally up. I think dies anyway to Choice of One. So the Guangzhou Charge, it took a little while to get in there, but when they do, they cap and look, it's not a 1 minute advantage, it's not even a 30-second advantage, but a 15-second advantage, it's pretty close. It doesn't really give you that much extra to play through. 15 seconds is basically a little bit more scouting time, a little bit of time to just do a bit of poke damage before you go in. Not quite a reset there. I don't think you can, unless it's a one-player reset, but it's just a minor amount of breathing space for the Guangzhou Charge. They've put themselves again in a position to maybe take away this map, but it still feels ever so slightly out of their reach, given the Fusion are right behind their heels as far as the time back time goes.
However, we should point out, service to the audience, but the stats, they've drawn much more even. Choice A1 is now ahead of damage compared to Zest by only about 100, but Jimmy's about 1,000 damage, 9.7k ahead of Carpe, who's at 8.6. This has been a very successful run forward for the Guangzhou Charge. The question is, can they find these angles and this ability to control the engagements again on the defense, where it should be easier?
I just think this is the sort of situation now where you're Philly, you don't try the fire or the Echo again. I think Echo has some value, but just doesn't have the pop-off the Genji does. Choi had a great time in that matchup when Zest on both points A and B was struggling to keep up with doing anything on the Echo compared to what a Genji brings. So, Choi Se-hwan catching up on stats, that is no mistake. It's no fluke either. Krong though, very low to start with. That's probably first blood. That's a unfortunate way for the Guangzhou Charge to begin their opening neutral. It probably will just snowball from here. I don't think Charge can get any kills.
Standing out there like a lemon. No plan, no escape, no frags, and no point A. Philadelphia
no
Fusion. True.
Just lemon,
and
just lemon, no kiwi.
It's okay. I've got lemon Avril now. That's just fine by me, son. Krong on the passive ult charge is going to be, are they going to try and touch it? Oh, with Choice A1 getting a frag.
No, missed it.
Jimmy just pops in and gets the disruptor, but look at this, already very aggressive to try and get the spawn hold.
That's kind of upsetting because I think they would have been able to touch. They were maybe only half a second off. Jimmy had no other movement. Like, you can't slide diagonally. Well, you can't slide, like, you know, a 90-degree angle. You can just slide straight, is kind of what I'm saying. He's not a knight on the chessboard, he's just a rook. And sometimes, he's sometimes, not a prick, what am I, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't play enough chess.
Bishops are the ones who move diagonally.
A bishop, boom, that's the one, that's the one. I don't know, I was thinking of priest.
There we go, the chess nerds will no longer be gunning for your head. Fury here taking a touch of poke, and that's an interesting drop down from Krong. He's going to be backed away for a moment. That's going to be a miss on the jagged blade, and that might prove critical here. It's going to make sure that Krong has plenty of room to try and work with. Yeah, the blade from Zest might well be a huge impact factor in this next fight. Krong goes low, Zest finds the finish, but gets taken down by a combination of Xerneas and Jimmy before the blade can be drawn on out. Jimmy moves forward, and the overclock is not enough to save him from the damage. The Philadelphia Fusion, they're running low on members. Choice A1's grabbing the resets that he needs. Fixer needs to be the next target, but no, it's full of a barrier! No, Fixer, you didn't fix anything, mate! Oh, Bob the Builder's going to be mighty unhappy with this one. Choice A1's getting plenty of resets. His own blade's been drawn. 1,000-folded steel will fold Fusion 1,000 times over. And Guangzhou Charge hold him in the streets.
I'm pretty sure for Fixer, he was trying to save himself. He must have been caught on the sides. I remember Fixer kind of flying through the Guangzhou Charge, going on the flank angle to perhaps escape. He might have been chased down, and to not die and guarantee he lives, he went for the solo beat. It is sad because you want to be team beating there, but caught between a rock and a hard place is the only thing I can say there. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I assume it was just a poor situation, and it's either die with a sound barrier or solo beat, so pick your poison. Really, to be fair though, the 3v3 at the end there, to me, was about double supports and Choice A1. If there's one way to win, it's heal Choi at all costs. You have two bodyguards plus Choice A1's Genji, and just both healers pumping in the extra healing. Get Choi these kills. He's got the damage, he can do it, he does outblade Zest towards the end there as well. And it's enough to hold on to B, but that is the caveat there. Like, there's, it's only B. They didn't get to hold A, which means Fusion can realistically still just win here, because a minute 15, like I said, it's not that much more time. It's still really hard to cap A. And remember that Fusion got A in one attempt because they just killed Krong and snowballed.
Yeah. Let's think about how this happened before for Guangzhou Charge. Zest back on the Echo, and just made an aggressive play to try and take out Jimmy, but there's no dash reset on Echo. Once you use your flight to get in onto a vulnerable target, your ways of removing yourself from that fight are heavily limited, and Choice1 took advantage of that before. Zest needs to be much more careful about how he manages his engagements here.
We'll see how long this takes to charge as well. They can't be spending too much time rotating, but on the rotation through, they're actually just going to get farmed here. They're going to get farmed big time. Fusion just destroy them, and that's kind of the problem with this map sometimes, is you can't just force your way onto the point or even into that like little side bakery kitchen there, because the defending team drop down from on top and they destroy you. So yes, that's your 15 seconds gone, maybe a little bit more.
Farm to table cuisine, freshly prepared here on Paraiso. Guangzhou Charge once again are back to the drawing board as Fury takes him. Oh, what a knife! That's not a knife, he says to the deflecting Genji. This is a knife.
Well, this is now a 5v4 opportunity though, because Carpe's got a little bit longer to run back time. Charge, they have to make use of this one. This is their one shot at pushing up, getting the cap. Extra 30 seconds to maybe try and get some distance on B to continue the series, at least in a one-to-one regard. Otherwise, Fusion will take match point. Get very important fight. You can't afford to lose Jimmy. Saved by the shout. The Fusion still healthy with 5 online. Everybody's back in now. Charge are falling apart. It's Fury and Carpe again. They got the kills before. They'll do it again. There's no responses from the Charge, and it's done. It is done. It would have been a 5-man wipe anyway if the Charge were there, but the Fusion, forget about going to B. They won't even allow Charge to get A, and it is indeed a 2-0. It is a match point situation now.
11.4k damage for Krong, 17.4k for Fury. Bruv's gold damage, man! It's a big old Junker Queen diff, and Fury is reigning. That crown is resplendent, Avril.
We haven't really seen that much statistically out of a Junker Queen in some time, and it's not even just about the gap between him and Krong, it's just about the gap between him and everybody, to be fair. It's, like I said, gold damage across the board. If you could calculate gold damage between 10 players, he would have it, and he's got it now. All of the goodies in spades as Fusion look for a comfortable victory here in this series, if they can just get one more map, which is what we have on board coming up right after this break. Going to split atoms today on the Overwatch League broadcast as the Fusion are 2-0 up, looking better than ever. A competitive Paraiso that does go to time bank, but very much in the control seat is the Philadelphia Fusion, as they do not allow the Guangzhou Charge to even capture the A point, while they themselves get past A, a little bit of distance onto B, and now looking for the final sprint into a 3-0 finish.
Yeah, we're witnessing sort of Act 2 of a Fury character arc now. We're a long way, after all, from rampaging off of Circuit Royale against the Valley. We are now looking a lot better. And Fury seems to be finding good timing
the best of us.
in these fights. It does.
I've done it.
It happens to be quite a bit in the beta. I'm not ashamed to admit it. But Fury, he's finding good times in these fights to hit the rampage, and even if it's only on 2 targets, it feels like Fury's doing a much better job of communicating when and where the rampage is going to go, so the team can join him and actually get some efficiency off those ultimates.
He's getting a lot of damage done, importantly, and a lot of that is the bleed damage. I don't know if people have a good read on how much of a Junker Queen's damage translates to bleed. I'll give it to you in raw numbers here. So out of 17,425 damage, 1,550 of that was bleed for Fury, and 806 out of 11,487 was that for Krong. So we're not looking at a ton of bleed damage, like that's less than 10% of your damage done ends up being bleed, but it just helps your supports out that much more, just a little bit, to keep yourself up as well. So it's not a ton of self-healing, but it's enough to make a difference over the course of that entire map, and just the general damage output. I mean, usually we don't, like you sort of mentioned at the end of the last map, we don't see Junker Queens pop off with that kind of damage output over the course of the map. It's usually, you know, the 2 DPS players who get the majority of everything. They get all the damage, they get all the frags, the final blows, and what have you. And the tank players on Junker Queen, a lot of the time, probably take a bit more of a back seat here. But Fury was behind the driver's seat. He's holding the steering wheel. He'll be driving us to a hybrid map now, which I believe is Watchpoint Gibraltar.
Yeah, I think we're going to be heading over to Watchpoint Gibraltar for our escort map, and this is one of the few places that we saw in Korean contenders where, like, some teams, and in North American contenders as well, some teams decided, maybe I won't try the Joker Queen here, but that idea, it fell away real fast as soon as people realized, you know what, I don't think there are any other options. Junker Queen's just too good, and part of the reason she's so good is because of that bleed healing that you talked about before. The wound heals 1-to-1 in terms of damage to healing, and that's the reason, Avril, why we're seeing a support composition that previously would have been thought of as anathema. Like, for any other kind of tank setup, a Brigitte Lucio healing setup is simply not enough. But when you've got a tank who's got a good amount of self-sustain, especially the self-sustain while they're actually in the fight, which is critical, it allows you to play these speedier supports who can just give a little bit of pocket healing over to a far more mobile DPS via armor packs, and then just the casual healing of the aura, and you got double speed boost as well, which is so huge. And now I'm just talking to you about Junker Queen comp, in case anyone didn't realize that that's what's happening now.
Yeah, if you've come in like 3 weeks late to Summer Showdown, or this stage like 2 months late to this patch with contenders already having played this for an extra month, then here you go. This is what Overwatch League is currently. But we're reaching the stage now where I think it's getting more and more solved. In fact, it's pretty damn solved as far as how all this kind of works, to the point where, you know, I've got my own personal flow chart of my expectation of how these fights kind of flow by. and it does seem to generally follow those guidelines. As we move towards the actual tournament stage now, we are getting away from the more coin flippy results, right? I think that's what usually happens at the start of a meta when you have, you know, the first week of NA was very coin flippy. I was pleased to even get, like, I think slightly more than half of my preds right there when most people got no preds right. My point being, though, is that as we've gotten deeper into the tournament, we've gotten back to, I think, more standard results of games where the better team will just beat the worst team or the not quite as good team. So we don't quite have the same level of upsets that we did early on.
Yeah, it feels like the overall understanding of these engagements and these compositions has been trending upwards. However, one of the things, while we've got a moment to talk, that actually concerned me was Guangzhou Charge. If we think back to Nepal Village, I know practically ancient history.
I thought you were about to just stop there. One of the things that concerned me was the Guangzhou Charge.
Oh, I'm not that cruel.
Continue.
But yes.
You're talking about Village. You're speaking about
yeah,
Village.
I think the Guangzhou Charge, they are either having trouble picking up how much Ultimate Charge Fury has, or they are overcommitting to holding chokes, and it's allowing Fury to actually have really good engagements with Rampages, when Guangzhou Charge should be doing more sort of pre-countering to the Rampage by using multiple verticalities and having good spacing to try and deny potential value from that ultimate.
I'll tell you what, this map is all about verticality, so we'll see if that ends up coming true. I also got to say is that it probably doesn't matter as much if you have the right ultimates. Like, if you have support ultimates available, you can get all caught up by it, but Sound Barrier blocks the whole thing out, so it really depends on the situation. But ultimately, yeah, you do need a space properly versus a Rampage. Well, Gibraltar's going to be one of the best maps to do that with. A lot of damage being traded here early on. No one too critical. Carpe might be in a position to go down, but Guangzhou Charge also starting below. Here's another dichotomy that we have to talk about. Okay, Farway's caught out. I think he got pulled by a blade for what it's worth by Fury, but yeah, he is dead.
I mean, Farway was actually lagging behind that entire engagement. We saw how long it was for Choice Tier 1 to actually get healed up at the beginning of the PoCam roll, and it felt like Farway just wasn't in team comms for the entirety of that fight. Everyone else had moved away from that zone, like, oh, that's a shot. Okay, Jimmy says, Farway can die, doesn't matter, I can still aim, bro.
Yeah, as you see Zest's camera there, he was surprised. He was like, wait a minute, how did I just get that shot like that?
Hold up.
Did not expect. Choice Tier 1, though, needs to make sure he's not going to be meeting the same early grave there as far as the low HP. Jimmy again onto Carpe, and Choi lives on one. I'll say Jimmy again. Yeah, he just gets another frag, just another headshot, so he is keeping the charge alive, keeping them in a position to still get this defense going. Booping aim dodge to the low ground as well, kind of forces Fusion away from contesting height.
Yeah, and every single one of these boops as well just like drains 4 or 5 seconds. Like Philadelphia Fusion had denied the engagement they wanted because now Guangzhou Charge are all here and ready. Fury's taking a good amount of damage here, and that's going to drain Aim God's packs as well.
So Fury's going to go below. The rest of the team is going to try and link up. It was a little bit of a weird situation there for Fusion to figure out which way they wanted to go, but eventually they will link up with Fury together. Now the option, they can go high, they can go through main. They are going to go up high, and Choi didn't have the confidence to dash on through, so he could have just dashed forward, but got stopped, got knifed, and got killed. So Choi Tier 1, no way. That's got to be first death.
That's a choice sad one from where I'm standing. Zest stares at the choke, maybe try and deny the high ground here as well as access a little bit of safety, but it's Jimmy on the off angle. And we all know that it's Jimmy Eat World. We simply live in it. Krong moves on forward. The shout still held in reserve for a moment, and there it is. That's going to move everyone forward. Zest draws out the blade, but the sound barrier is good to answer. Fix it with the second. On paper, it should be better. And now it's time for layers upon layers of support ultimates as Farway moves in second. AimGod finally gets his own charged on up and drags for Philadelphia Fusion forward with the additional overhealth. Jimmy
Choice
can
coming.
get some cleave here, but there's the blade coming through. Choice Tier 1 was a little bit later with it, and already so much has been expended. AimGod sends him running amok with a nice bit of kiting, but with Jimmy and Choice Tier 1 both here, AimGod should not get out. The boot. That was so close, you cheeky boy.
0-6-2, they hold on to a charge, do not let go of the payload. All that effort, all the ultimates being spent. Be a shame for that one to be a cap from the Fusion, given how much Charge wanted to defend, but Farway is not to be pushed off from the payload. Crisis averted. That would have been so bad for the Charge, but they will hold on. Double support ultimates, double DPS ultimates. When all is said and done, Carpe's got the only DPS ultimate available. Krong with the Rampage, hits under backline. That should be enough to get the kills. AimGod for sure is dead. Fixer might end up following, and the Fusion get cleaned up. They are this time going to be fully reset. Only 35 seconds left to go. This is full holdable.
Oh no, Choice Tier 1 might bleed to death. The cavalry is here in the form of Xerneas. coming to rescue Choice A1 and give him a nice sound-based cuddle.
Rampage overclock. One good fight for the Fusion. No matter what, though, they will lose all their time. Also, Charge can't afford to hold aggressively too much, because if one person gets through to the back cap, they can solo back cap this one. So Charge need to make sure they force a fight very early. And on the payload, which has actually slid back at a reasonable distance. Now this is where you can play the high. We talk about them dodging out Fury's Rampage. Can they do it?
Krong going to be the main target here down on the ground. There's the commanding shout from Fury to drag everyone forward. Krong antied, bleeds on out. Fury hit his mark. The Junker Queens moved on down, so there's no bulk on Guangzhou Charge to sustain themselves against this assault. Choice A1, yes, dashes on through, but the damage is simply gravy on top of a very sad pudding as Philadelphia Fusion move forward and will have access to the high ground critically.
Well, listen, when you gotta eat, you gotta eat. Whether it's tasty or not, but for the Guangzhou Charge, what does taste good is at least 4 minutes shaved off the time bank there. Not much more Krong could do, to be honest with you. He's the only one that can reliably stay on the payload. He's got the HP to deal it with. But once you've expended the shout, there's only so much that can happen there. He gets solo Rampage as well. So you talk about Charge avoiding the Rampage. They pretty much do. Krong will always be the target there. Zest has his blade countered by the Sound Barrier, which, by the way, wasn't available the last fight. So if Charge could hold on for maybe like 5 seconds longer, or Zernis had the bait a little bit earlier, they could have held on to Krong. But not to be here.
Farway has a momentary tempo advantage when it comes to the rally here, but do you want to pop it and give Choice A1 a little bit more bulk behind this blade before Aimgod can get his own up? Philadelphia Fusion is so close to getting both of their ultimates. Carpe with the dodge, the slide away not good enough though to evade the fangs of Choice A1 as they sink into prey and they draw blood from ruptured veins and arteries. Philadelphia Fusion are sent scurrying back to their hovels.
And I'll tell you what, Jimmy might not have shown up on the kill feed there, but that was all Jimmy for this setup. Choice A1 got the dunk, but he had the layup from Jimmy first, who shot a brilliant rail onto Carpe, put him on 1 HP, and then Choice A1 pulls Blade because he's like, you know what, I might not need the HP here, I can guarantee a kill, then try and dash reset onto a secondary target, and the Fusion can do nothing about it. So, Charge, again, shaving more time off the clock.
Oh, Choice A1 hoisted
Another rail.
Zest is so low. Dare anyone move on in? Fixer, incredibly low, but Jimmy, he can't move forward. Fixer has to extricate himself using the beat. It saves himself and everyone else gets the cushion too. Krong finally pops the commanding shout, but it's simply to move in and feed faster,
dude,
as fast as his feet can carry him.
They might be able to cap now, but a Fusion were like one death away from not even winning that fight, because if Jimmy hits the shot into Fixer in the head, or it's a secondary shot, or somebody else gets the cleanup, there's no beat in that fight. Fusion probably lose the fight, but now in a position to maybe get this cap on through. Jimmy came back onto a Widow, and Carpe wants to get the cleanup. Will do, off the back of Zest, and this should be the fight win now. Krong has a Rampage, but it's not going to be here in time. There's no point using it in a 3vx anyway, and Charge likely going to have to give this one up. Fusion extend the game further.
The Widow, an interesting choice, but in this case you could see that maybe Jimmy picks it thinking, if I can just hit myself a good headshot onto their Lucio or onto their Brig, I can get rid of a critical component super early. Alas, there wasn't really the space there to make it work, but there was a sensible rationale behind Jimmy's choice.
He also doesn't lose ult charge, right? He doesn't get punished for changing that time, so it's like, okay, you know, makes sense. He's a very confident Widow player in any case, but yeah, Zest will spot him out and dive straight on. Speaking of which, Blade's coming online, so Fusion are snowballing. It's not even just that they're winning B and getting that cap, but they're winning in a way where they don't have to really spend much, and now they kind of convert that a little further forward. Jimmy will put a stop to it though. Again, Jimmy's been brilliant on these first bloods. Whether he's getting the kill or whether he's just doing the damage and allowing someone else to get the kill, it's the rails that are setting up these plays.
Yeah, Jimmy's competitive history very much overshadowed by Leave in his tenure on Chengdu Hunters, but then again the entire league was overshadowed by Leave, to be honest, in his MVP run. Jimmy, patient when it comes to the potential snipe, actually gets stuck in here with a knife, and I think Fury's actually held it for a while to make sure that Jimmy is too nervous to use the slide to escape.
Carpe will come out through first. Now Zest cleans up Choice F1. A Rampage that's on. A couple of important members. I think getting Zest on the Rampage is super good here because he's going to be a little bit concerned about just pulling the blade until he's clear of the anti that happens now. Sound Barrier is instantly dropping response. Both squads, and as time runs down to an OT, this is indeed the final fight. And Fusion looking like they're actually coming out ahead here. They don't even have to use the Rampage. They can get a cleanup here. Choi is not going to go for the Blade, and Leg Day, there is enough room, just enough of win condition that I could see Fusion pushing to the final corner, playing the Rampage and capping the whole map.
Yeah, I love a choice to use the Blade first here from Zest, because you know that you're going up against multiple verticalities. The Blade much better at trying to deal with those. Now all's going to be even on a flat plane. This is where Fury can get value out of a Rampage to the nth degree. Choice there one lies in wait, but Fury can just turn around, whip up that axe and get ready to let loose. The Rampage pushed forward. Only 2 will be hit. Choice say one, they can deny the Blade. He's antied, he's bleeding, but no, he'll draw it out in time. Jimmy and Choice say one think it's time to turn this one around. A boot may well save Fixer for a moment, but no one's on the carts. And that's going to be Philadelphia Fusion in a little bit of a sadness, not being able to finish this one out.
We'll talk about a boop. I think there was a boop from the Charge as well. Xerneas might have pushed a couple members away or far away. In either case, the Fusion are not going to have full feet on. Got to say, they've set themselves up for a lot of success there. If they don't cap, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. They still push through the entire map, and given the amount of time they had, which was nothing on A, nothing on B, right? They went to time back twice in a row there. Overtime, rather. Twice in a row there, and again, overtime, but this is going to be where it ends for the Fusion as far as the push goes. Great Rampage from Fury. Might have only been 2, but you have to remember, the 2 you want there is 1 into Krong, which puts the tank of the Guangzhou Charge in disarray, but then also 1 into Choi, that despite Choi not dying off the bleed damage, because he's antied and bleeding out, he can't really go for the Blade, because if he goes for the Blade during a time where he just has nothing to work with as far as HP, he can just lose the Blade while getting, you know, wounded. So it's just a risky time for any Genji to make a play. So it's a good Rampage. Fusion might have had that, but Choi and Farway with the ultimates at the end at exactly the right time to save Charge's defense. Is it going to be enough, though?
Hey, credits Choice there one as well. That was a really smart kite to take to try and avoid the incoming damage. Really blocked off Fury's line of sight that he had from the area of a Rampage placed him within, and I don't think anyone else was in a position to really try and finish off Choice here one, because they were taking their own duels with players like Jimmy and Farway who were just getting up towards those ultimates.
Now the Charge have a long way to go.
Oh,
this is the kind of situation where you're thinking, man, if only they full held on A, or if only they could have held on B as well, because I'm looking at a similar situation to Paraiso, right? It's a good showing, but when you get to the end, it doesn't feel like it's enough. Charge have at least got a long rotation here, so you see we actually swap sides. It looks like Philly's attacking, but no, it is Charge. Philly's on the low ground, and here we go, the melee begins, and it's Krong and Choi taking the brunt of the damage. Fusion mostly escaping damage, and again, you'd think it's Fusion spawn behind. Nope, that's the Charge spawn. Jimmy's actually sneaking the payload away, but it does look like Charge will lose the opening.
I don't think Farway got the memo, but Jimmy's leaving. He's here alone, and yes, Jimmy gets Fixer. This might actually force Philly Fusion to move away. They have 2 choices. They can either start to leave now,
they want the kill,
or they can just hold the spawn for the entire way, and indeed they do. This is actually going to give a little bit of time for Fixer to return, and now Philadelphia Fusion can return to a spawn.
That's the risk-reward, right? If you're Fusion, you're playing like, I think they had 3 or 4 members there, but if you get the kill into Xerneas, it allows time for Fixer to respawn and make sure the team is 5. It also it justifies playing aggressively at the end when the other choice was to run away. So speaking of running away, Guangzhou Charge a 3 pushing payload. They'll be making some reasonable distance here. Fusion have some decisions to make. Do they drop down or not? Choice low, but no one can finish him off.
Car, laying of a car wash. Squeaky clean and good to go. Philadelphia Fusion, check out Zest. And he's charged towards the Blade. He's already got it. Some Shuriken fan in there. Got a good amount of damage done.
Yep.
And Jimmy, yes, has taken out Carpe. So does Zest now feel the pressure to draw the Blade?
Absolutely. Gonna have to go for this one. The Xerneas has the counter available, so Charge, they look like they'll be okay here. They can just continue finding more conversions on the kills. Carpe has returned, so it's a flat-out 5 versus 5. Philly actually disengaged beautifully there. They don't lose any extra members, and because the payload can't cap it, we can actually get a full team fight. Double rallies being pulled on through it. Again, Sean and Krong take the brunt of the damage. Jimmy just will not let Carpe play the game. This is like Lip versus Carpe from Shanghai versus Fusion all over again. Carpe sent back, fix it. Does he pull the sound barrier? The answer is no, and Charge will cap with time.
I don't think Jimmy took a single point of damage in that fight. Man's got the Deathly Hallows, a cloak of invisibility. For me, on Sojourn? Oh, what a luxury for Lord Jimothy II. absolutely able to freely aim and has earned himself an overclock for the trouble. Choice A1 can combine with the blade as well. There are plenty of ultimates here to try and tax fix a singular sound barrier.
And a rampage as well from Fury where no support ultimates are available for Charge, so it's another one of those situations where I think the early trigger pull will be successful. Philly holding onto high ground, and you can see a lot of members from Charge are on the low ground, so possibility for a reasonable rampage to come on through. Fury's looking for it. Carpe against Jimmy this time, so that's the response that Fusion have been waiting for. They can't just allow Jimmy to take over the game.
Oh my goodness, carved through is Krong, and Choice A1 has a blade in hand, but few targets upon which to carve. Yes, Aim God will fall, but in the end, Philadelphia Fusion make good on their 3-ult investment, and honestly, I don't mind them spending that much, Avril, for this position on Gibraltar.
Yeah, it is very desperate though. The problem is it's a 3-to-1 trade, so it becomes very expensive in the long run of this attack, given that Charge also have more time to play through, right? That's the biggest advantage of Charge, actually capping with time versus Fusion being put to the overcooked time, as the cap for A actually came on through. So expecting Krong to get a reasonable hit now. It'll be between Krong and Jimmy. Jimmy probably pops first. The payload's moving. I mean, Fusion actually have to be the ones contesting, as I don't think Charge mind just capping.
Okay, they drop on the back line knowing that someone's on car. There's the rampage put on out. Vixer so low, and Choice A1 finds the finish. Yes, Zest has a blade in hand, but he's got no blood left in his arteries. What will take the hemoglobin around the system now? Carpe left to bounce in place like the saddest child who had no one come to his birthday party. But it's okay, at least Daddy got the bouncy castle.
A little bit sadder towards the end there, as a couple of members will get the bad spawn, and see if Choice A1 can get a cleanup. Nope. Many Fusion respawn is now coming through from the back spawn on C instead. So Charge will get a couple of extras for their trouble as they cap on through. And for a good price as well. You know, we're talking about the ultimate exchanges here. What was it? Just the sound barrier plus the rampage traded for the blade. So sound barrier for blade is a very normal trade coming on through. Krong getting multiple targets as well is what will give Charge now the ability to walk on through with more than double the time that Fusion actually had going on C themselves. So once more we get back in the equation of Paraiso, where you've got more time, but you get a bit of time back.
Siren Song of 2-to-1 and Fury's first to fall. Krong's moving forward, now not having to worry about the Junker Queen versus Junker Queen, but the only worry that's on the mind of anyone in this lobby is where's Jimmy and how do I dodge the shots? The question is, well, the answer is in your backline, and you don't.
And now Troy's got the Blade versus Aim God's rally as well. So this is how we're going to finish things off if indeed we do. Charge are desperate for something good here. They've got to be having a time back of at least, I would say, 130 to be successful. Rally has been pretty popped in there. Krong a bit low HP, but Choi should have some frags. Eventually they do come on through. No, maybe not. Zest and Carpe. It's a 2-for-2 trade. 3 versus 3 so far. Player advantage now in the favor of the Fusion with respawn advantage as well. Only double supports available in Charge. I'm going to have to back on out. So less than 2 minutes remaining now, and Fusion have forced a reset on the Charge. But more importantly, look at the ults. They start to come online. We have 3 that are not that far off, and Fixer as well, just trailing behind Zest. This is now suddenly not full holdable, just holdable by the Fusion. So it's a minute 40, but Fusion hold all the cards.
Economic prudence here from Philadelphia Fusion may well be the key to victory. Carpe, with access to high grounds and maybe long sightlines as well, can do plenty with this overclock. There is a fourth position here. And well, there's Carpe taking out Jimmy first. Revenge tastes so sweet when it's zested with orange. Krong's going to be the next to fall, and it's only one ultimate from Philadelphia Fusion. This is the concern we had before, Avril. Has been answered.
Well, that's the problem, is like, for some reason when Fusion push past C and they only have 130 after being held to the overtime, you're like, actually that still feels okay for the Fusion. You know, they have some ultimates coming online. We expect them to be able to comfortably convert on those and get the required value, but for some reason when Charge come through C with more than 3 minutes, you're like, oh, I don't know if they can finish. Not too sure here. It doesn't feel good. Just one of those kind of things, and now the deeper we go in, and you'll notice that Fusion are kind of spawn camping-ish, does get broken by Choi and Xerneas, and that might have been the keystone removed, breaks this bridge open for the Guangzhou Charge to flood on through. Is it going to be enough? Because Fusion still have respawn knives.
Oh, Krong maybe looking for a rampage, and that's going to be Aim God, going to be the first victim. Fixer cannot save them, but Fury has the rampage. No one's on the cart! Wait, it's a little bit of a false alarm from me. Pardon, it was a little bit of a weird one from Leg Day. There's the Carnage onto Fury. We'll remove them by force if we have to. Fixer has to move on in. Can't survive for long. It's Carpe now who touches this, and now no one's on the car. A little bit of a missed call, but you know what? It's early in the morning for me, Avril. I'm used to LA time.
It's all good. It's all good. They'll remove the players from the cart forcefully, and they are indeed going to get the time available. So there it is. It was getting a bit dicey towards the end there. It was getting a little bit tricky. For the Guangzhou Charge, they will be able to bounce back at least for one map and begin any hope of the reverse sweep. It still is maybe slightly concerning of how much, effort it takes to even get that kind of comeback, given that they had a lot more time than the Fusion, but at least they are doing it. We had some question marks about their ability to close out games where they are ahead, and finally they've proven that yes, they can. But can they now close out the series? They've still got 2 maps to play through Fusion, are still in the lead, Leg Day, but we're going to go to a break before we head to map 4, New Queen Street, coming up right after this. Welcome back to the Overwatch League here, 2-1. Guangzhou Charge strike back for at least a single map here, but can they get more done? As they do need to complete a reverse sweep here in the second to last week, in week 2, here, the last day of the second week. A lot of numbers and a lot of different times, but what you need to know is in the first series, we're 3 maps through. How many more numbers can I throw into this equation like that? I don't know.
Well, the critical number, Avril, is actually 4. For those of you who are joining us early, those midday risers who have just got up from their European siestas, this is a match which is going to have some severe implications when it comes to qualification for the Summer Showdown. And that is very valuable to the Guangzhou Charge, who are currently 7th in this region, would be the only team that wouldn't even make play-ins for the end of season playoffs. Both of these teams, I believe, are currently, what, 1 and 2, Avril?
1-2. 1-2.
So, whichever one of these teams wins is going to be a shoo-in for that 4th seed, because essentially 1 and 2 are locked in by Shanghai and Seoul, and Chengdu's looking pretty right now in 3rd.
I'd be concerned about Spark here as well. It's actually not quite clear who the 4th seed is just yet. Chengdu still need to finish off the rest of the qualifiers with a reasonable scoreline. I think a reasonable scoreline for them would be 4-2. Minimum 3-3. I think 4-2 should be expected, given that they do look like the 3rd best team in the region for the Strodes meta so far. And then the 4th seed will be between, in my opinion, Fusion, Charge, and Spark. One of those 3 teams will get it, and both the Fusion and the Charge currently have a lead over the Spark, being that they're 1-2 versus Spark's 1-3. But after the end of this, between the Fusion and Charge, somebody's going to be 1-3, somebody's going to be 2-2, and somebody else is going to be 1-3. So they are getting ahead of the Spark, and the Spark will have a chance to respond a little bit later on, as they've played 4 matches, still 2 left to get done. Long road, though, for the Charge, and as we sort of discussed, Fusion have at least made tournaments before. They've made both mid-season and kickoff clash. In fact, they were runner-ups in the kickoff clash. Charge, no tournaments this year, no tournaments last year, so 2 years now running. Waiting to see Charge return to their 2020 former glory. And speaking of return, here's a fun fact. Charge have not defeated the Philadelphia Fusion since 2019, July 2019. So it's been a couple years now. This is their 3rd year versus the Fusion. And the overall franchise record is Fusion 4-1 in terms of how many they won and how many they lost versus Charge.
Philadelphia Fusion also... Philadelphia Fusion have actually sent more players to Guangzhou Charge, and I think Guangzhou Charge have beaten them in franchise history. Obviously, they sold Fraggy over there for a while. Maybe they sold Kid on it. Oh yeah, Hopper too. Yep, that's 2 players sent over. That's more wins. Zest fanning away here with the Shurikens. Actually might be in danger is Krong once again, the first to fall down. Yes, Zest is booped away. There should be plenty of healing here, never mind. Choice actually finds the finish, so it's even Stevens when it comes to the trade thus far. Jimmy in the tube at the moment is getting plenty of free poke down and is absolutely unaccosted by Philadelphia Fusion. No one can reach them with Zest down, so Jimmy's been able to reign free.
They'll have the first payload coming through as well. Yeah, there's only been, like, I think the 1 or 2 kills so far. Krog and Zest have gone down. Choice of Wonder also got a frag in there. So it's been a very even, slow game on New Queen Street. 6 meters accounts for basically nothing at this stage. Krog, perhaps in a bit of trouble, but speaking of trouble, Jimmy is the one causing a ruckus. He is really putting the pain down in the Fusion. Now Fury and Carpe could be going down next. He opens things up, and Charge will close it as Jimmy leads the way. Man, he's just been so phenomenal for the Charge today.
I don't know, man. Someone told Jimmy he's getting a performance bonus or something if Guangzhou Charge make this tournament, because he is playing the video game today. But when we look at the numbers, the big one that really stands out to me, Avril, is Choice A1 well ahead on the blade compared to Zest, and that's going to be critical considering that Fixer and AimGod might be outpaced in their own ultimates.
Choi hasn't died, and Zest has died twice, and 2 is currently the highest amount of deaths so far, which is not a lot, but it is 2 compared to a 0. That's why Choi is so much further ahead. Zest just needs an opportunity to find some damage and build that back up. Payload now reaching the checkpoint. It's going to be very important, and importantly enough, it's the ultimates coming online at the perfect time. Charge to just spend these ultimates, cash that capture point in as well, 3 meters away. It's AimGod's rally, trying very hard to stop this blade, and so far that's been kind of successful. There's still a sound barrier available for Xerneas. Quite nearly Ajax that.
Oh, nearly. Fixer going to counter out in their own right here, as plenty of feelings going to be given over by the Brigitte. Zest now zooming in on Choice here. One of us, a disengagement for the Guangzhou Charge, yes, but so close to the butt scratch are they? And Zest is kind of balked on the outside as he tries to disengage just to run away for Philly Fusion, and they can't afford to give away this space because there's the checkpoint. The forward spawn unlocked. But in the end, while Philadelphia Fusion might frag Avril, Guangzhou got what they wanted from just a speed boost and an overclock.
Yeah, and that doesn't matter now. Charge can lose this fight. That really doesn't matter. They'll even tag a couple of extra members to put them back to the spawn room here. And the actual blade being spent by Zest and Fusion. They're desperate to win this fight, right? They really need something in. Even though Charge lose, Fury still gets a kill. It's a little bit of a stag on a choice that you respect. Okay, well, yeah, you just want to make sure that Charge will have slower respawns by some margin. But like you said, mate, they got the cap. That doesn't, nothing else really matters. You get the cap, that's a major, major lead.
Yeah, that means for next fight as well, you're not going to have to deal with that butt scratch. The forward spawn was given to everybody as well. Here's the overclock coming through from Carpe. Looking for the opening here. There isn't too much onus. Krong actually moves on forward. Carpe gets antied. He's going to bleed to death. For same for Fixie. Yes, it's a big old carnage that's coming on through. And Krong's more than happy to deliver the damage. Alas, he won't survive even with that bleed healing. As Choice here won as target locked on Fury. And once again, that cart is going to
chase him down. They should get him.
What are you doing?
Fury's trying to save the day. He's trying to be the hero right now. He still lives for a little while longer. But it will be the extra Rampage expended for only the one kill. Fusion, though, they're trying to fly on through. You see Fixer diving on in. There's low members. Choi and Jimmy get cleaned on up. So, Ghosts of Rampage's past have been collected in by the rest of Fusion. It seemed like it was an overstep by Fury, but it ends up saving the day. They technically win that fight, and Fusion now have control.
All right, Fury with the Prophet Rampage, the Nostradamus Rampage potentially. Aim God
so Prophet's
now
going to
can
play the
match
Jungle
Farmer.
Queen next. I understand now. He's
Exactly.
I get it.
It's all part of that MVP bid. Choice here one, looking for some vulnerable targets, but everyone's getting healed up by the auras at the moment. The blade is drawn. Aim Gods, priority number one, and that's going to be a nice deflect to avoid getting knocked on back by the whip shot steal. Everybody gets their man. It's a 1-for-1 trade. The cart going to be contested for now, but Zest is starting to find the targets. The resets are beginning to mount on up. So low is Xerneas, and Krong the next victim on the docket for Zest. And that's going to be yeah, big disengage here.
If they die here, they can't hold this payload position to prevent the checkpoint run. They desperately need to have 5 alive, play the sound barrier, block out the blade. Fusion now on the precipice of maybe equalizing this meterage gain by the Charge on their earlier pushes. Jimmy is also going to have the firepower in short order, but he needs to find that Zest. Here he comes now, beat for beat. Blade for nothing in response so far. Jimmy 8% away, and Zest gets shut down. Jimmy will find the overclock on the kill from Zest. Doesn't even need to pull through just yet, but Charge, they should be looking to chase down the rest of the Fusion as much cleanup as possible, and if they can get that without expending more outfits, that would be ideal.
Early poke does so much to make sure that Zest is cowed into submission in his position with the blade, and then can only sheepishly move forward and ask, please, Mrs. Brigitte, can I get a couple of slashes at your toes, madame? Unfortunately, it's not to be, and now the bot can be rolled on
Usually
forward.
charge for that.
Ah, yeah, well, Guangzhou Charge, they certainly did.
The Charge.
The price is paid in blood, Avril.
Righto. As long as it's not free. Here we go. From half HP. Does he pull the trigger though? Jimmy will be the one to go through first. And goodbye, Carpe. That was a disgustingly good flick. Nearly landed another one to fix it. Doesn't matter. Choi will get the cleanup. And off the back of a single overclock that had been very deservedly earned in the previous fight, Charge will push on forward. They are looking comfortable now on New Queen Shooters. They are about to round the corner of not just 80, but I suspect even 90, I think even 95 meters they can potentially get here. Depends how quickly Fusion can regroup and get this fight underway. They lose another player, but they have to go for it. It doesn't matter. It's 4v5, but if you just try and back out, if you do nothing, you're going to get capped. Charge are going to get over 100.
Oh, no. Oh, my. 7 of 10 minutes have been elapsed. Guangzhou Charge are over 110 meters. Oh, it smells like full cap right now because guess what? Still holding on to so many ultimates of a Guangzhou Charge. Choice A1 has the blade in hand and it's going to be a rampage from Krong here. Farway taken down first. It's a big pick for Carpe. The rampage is off the board and Krong can't quite find his target. Yes, for other number and Fury is taken down, but just before the finish, it does seem like this is going to be Philadelphia Fusion holding on.
Oh my god, it's a perfect 1-2-3-0-0 as well. It's nearly triple the amount of meters that Fusion have gained, so 3 times the work to do. It doesn't even matter that Charge didn't spend ultimates. I'm actually glad that they saved the ultimates here. Let Krong maybe test out the waters with a rampage, save your double support ultimates so that the Fusion can't snowball you through. Charge don't need to finish the map here, so, you know, I don't think it's necessary for them to go 2 balls to the walls just to try and full cap the map. The idea is to have more meters at the end, with only 2 minutes remaining. Yeah, Charge have that in spades.
In the end, the meterage is all that counts, and AimGod's looking to buy some of those when it comes to the rally, but it's answered by Farway. Rally for rally, and Fury strikes with the rampage. 3 players anti, but Xerneas is going to be the one to answer back. Loud and clear, Choice A1 screams it from the rooftops. Witness me! And everyone does. Philadelphia Fusion torn asunder.
Let's see how much time we can lose here for the Fusion. The unfortunate thing for the Chargers, they can't get the payload into a position to finish, so in some ways they can just, you know, put the payload somewhere they like, get into a defensible position. Choi will be the one to shove it as far forward as possible. Charge spent 3 ultimates there, or I believe the 2 in response, so slightly more expensive than they would have liked. Fusion have 2 available. They'll go for this one. Charge likely lose this fight, but again, we're playing for the final OT. Charge, at this rate, you know, it's one of those football games where there's very little time left. You're just kicking the ball about now. You're trying to kick it out of bounds. You know, just waste as much time as possible. It's all about that last OT fights. That's what counts.
Time wasters, time wasters. Sorry, my inner Brit just got awakened by
just kicking it between each other. Not even moving it down the pitch, just kicking it, just having some fun. Looking at the clock.
Passing. Back and forth. No, you don't get any more meters though. This is where we draw the line, take Guangzhou Charge. Jimmy almost has the overcut. What a reflect there. That slows down Krong, but Zest, oh, the reflect is gone. It was all a bait from Jimmy. You've fallen for my trap card, but Kunai with chain. Fixer moves forward, yes, with the additional shielding of the sound barrier, and it keeps Philadelphia Fusion in this fight for the moment with 15 seconds remaining. Guangzhou Charge are closer to their own spawns, and Jimmy's going to be back in no time. Carpe still surveys all under his thumb, the king of the battlefield with a rail in hand, yes, but no main tank to protect them. Fury has fallen down in disengagement, and they need to stay on the bot now. AimGod down, and Krong is playing the bodyguard. The rampage is good to go. If anyone dares to set their foot upon Timothy Smythe for Thirst's land, they will be ridden down by the Royal Knights of the Krong Collective. The rampage not needed, and Guangzhou Charge will find themselves a ticket to a map number 5.
Oh, you said Kunai with change. I was like, that's a very interesting trap card to bring up, but then I read what it actually does, and this is what Jimmy does to Zest in the final fight. When opponent's monster declares an attack, target the attacking monster, change that target to defense position. Zest is no longer the attacker. Now he must defend, and Jimmy shoots him down. The Guangzhou Charge have been on the offense for some time now, losing 2 maps back in their command. And my goodness, are we really about to see the reverse sweep? Valiant reverse swept the Philadelphia Fusion earlier in this year, and now Charge are trying to be the second team to do it to Fusion again. Map 5 coming up right after this. The series is certainly now paying the dividends, getting deep into enemy territory as the Guangzhou Charge on their way to a potential reverse sweep. Philadelphia Fusion led the series 2-0, in some cases quite comfortably, looking at our opening map there in Nepal as well. But now, the deeper we go, the better it looks for the Guangzhou Charge, especially that new Queen Street. My goodness, it was nearly a full map completion from Guangzhou.
I mean, we've got to think about like how dominant that Nepal was, and we thought, okay, yep, quick 3-0. Avril and I getting out of here with an easy paycheck today, you know. And on Paraiso, we saw glimpses of the Guangzhou Charge that could be, even if their overtime play was not exactly inspiring. However, when it came to Gibraltar, everything starts to turn around. We start to get a much closer engagement. All really came down to one fight at the end of Gibraltar, and now. Well, now it's turned around. Now we're feeling the momentum of the Charge start to pick up some steam, and the question is, can Philadelphia Fusion throw emergency brakes on this, or is it already too late and they've lost their initiative?
Yeah, and I think, you know, one of the key areas for the Fusion that we felt like was heavily overperforming, outperforming their Charge counterpart was the Fury versus Krong matchup. But I gotta say, taking a look at the last two maps, that's evened out quite a lot now. Fury is still getting the better of Krong every now and then for the most part. You know, statistically, he is getting more done, but not by a monstrous amount. Like you mentioned, it was like by 40%.
Yeah,
40%. Like the damage. Yeah, now it's gone down to like, you know, well below 10, maybe like a 5% difference if that. So, you know, it's a very tiny margin between Krong and Fury compared to where we were in Paraiso. And because the Charge have made sure to kind of close the gap onto that, the other gaps now become much more apparent. And the one that you got to bring up that has to be done, unfortunately, is that Jimmy just is the best player in the lobby at the moment. He is heavily outperforming everybody. Lip did it to the Fusion yesterday with his Sojourn play. Jimmy's now doing it to the Fusion today. This just seems like the kryptonite of the Philadelphia Fusion. They can't deal with an opposing team if they have a Sojourn popping off.
I feel like a critical change has happened as well for the Guangzhou Chargers, that Choice 1 seems to have got off the mad goop between map 3 and map 4, and he's not making as many reckless dashes in now, and it allows for Jimmy to have a little bit more space to work, simply because it means that Choice 1 can play a little bit more reserved, try and mark Zest a little bit more when Zest is trying to get on top of the of Jimmy quite often, just to deny that space, make sure that Jimmy's panicking and that he can't really concentrate on taking out Carpe. So Choice 1 being able to play more of a mano a mano, marking Genji to make sure that Zest can't pop off, has been huge for giving Jimmy space.
Yeah. Does Choice 1 go from Battle Ox to Enraged Battle Ox? We'll see. Lijiang Tower now. I didn't think we'd make it this far, but here we go. Lijiang Tower it is. Yeah, Choi's output has been pretty phenomenal as well. We actually, you know, noted that at the beginning of the map, Choi had significantly outpaced Zest on Blade in, you know, the opening couple of fights. You know, Choi had 0 deaths, Zest had been targeted and got down twice. A lot of the damage coming through from Jimmy to enable that. And here's the crazy thing about Jimmy is, like, even when you have maps where Choi, technically he gets a lot more final blows than Jimmy, when you see the damage output and you see the HP powers of the Fusion and you're like, they're just getting chunked out. Like, these members on 1 HP all the time, and then they just get cut up by Choi, who dashes in for the execution. That's Jimmy's rail laying up a dunk from Choi Se-hwan. So the damage is there from Jimmy that Choi then gets the final blow on. That's how the combinations have worked so far. So Jimmy's still really, to me, setting it up where Choi Se-hwan is, you know, taking the bat.
You've heard the talent is there, Avril, but now for Guangzhou Charge, the damage is there. Moving on to a point first of a Philadelphia Fusion, kind of aggressive moving forward. Farway just standing out in the middle of nowhere like a lemming, and he's executed just as brutally. Farway and Jimmy find themselves in the Shadow Realm, and there's no Monster Reborn for this one.
Zest is back.
He is.
I think the Shadow Realm is more like the Exile pile, where cards are removed entirely from play.
From beyond the graveyard.
But then at some stage, Exile just became another graveyard. It's the graveyard beyond the graveyard. Start bringing things back. In any case, well, let's look what happens here, though. Choice 1 getting Zest down. So Zest, the hero of the first opening fight, will now be the first death for the Philadelphia Fusion. Charge really wasting no time to get back into action. And Choi was still keeping up with Zest despite dying in that initial fight. And now he's getting himself a head fixer on 1 HP, but lives. Fury and Krong took a bit of damage here. It's not fully clean from the charges. In fact, Choi goes for a 1v1 play versus Fixer, and Fixer wins.
I don't know how you're finding 1v1s when you're in a 4 versus 5. You've got to try and leverage the advantages that you have. Jimmy tries to cover the escape using that shot. Oh my goodness, it's Jimmy, he's back. Zest sent away. You're in timeout, kid. A chase here from Fury. Yes, it's brutal. And it's going to be the knife delivered by hand this time. And now the throw from Fury sends Xerneas away. And Philadelphia Fusion, yes, they did lose control of the point due to their disengagements, but it's quickly brought back.
It's a 5v4 that Charge kind of can't really convert further, and you have to credit the Fusion for disengaging the way they do. They disengage all the way to the back of the map around Coast, which is kind of dangerous as well because you can't get booped off, but yeah, it ended up being that I saw Choi kind of going for an execution onto Fixer, what he thought would have been a kill there. Fixer doesn't end up happening. Though they'll find Zest again. This is the exact same kill that Charge got last time. We're going to run it entirely back. It's going to be the extra rampage being pulled on through, though. No sound barrier just yet. 5% away. And Charge, because Choi Sehwan got hit by the rampage, has no confidence to walk on in with the blade. It's going to be rallying out. Hopefully traded for the rally on the opposite end. And Farway is holding his rally. Should be looking to pop. Finally.
Zest. He can't be first death again. Plenty of armor. Fury misses the carnage. And that means he's going to need a touch more healing. No more of a bleeds to try and work on. Fixer dares everyone to move on forward, but Xerneas answers. Second beat, better beat, so they say. And Aim Gods found that out the hard way as Farway sends them down potentially into the pits below. Tartarus awaits for you, Mind God of Aiming. And I'm afraid that the Pantheon's not looking too kindly upon you.
3 down. Fusion now below the percentage point of the Charge as well. Very important that Charge actually win that fight, because if it goes any longer, Zest gets played, but Xerneas and Farway expended support ultimates already. That means no counter to Zest. He would have won that fight for the Fusion. If it goes a little bit longer and they have the players alive, but Charge make use of that secondary sound barrier that comes in ever so slightly later than Fixer to allow the Charge a little bit more extra time to play with, and time now starts to run out for the Philly Fusion. Got to head into final fight territory now. Once that 90% mark is there, Fusion have to get going. They're going to get going nice and early against Zest, but he's emptied out. Krong just solo rampaged him. I think that's kind of worth.
Taken to the wasteland. No healing to be received. Yes, there is going to be a touch on the point here, but Guangzhou Charge, they only have to win one fight, and can't be. Your overclock means nothing to Krong. Fury cloven asunder by the carnage, and yes, Zest has arrived, but there's nothing in his pockets. It's just lint and sadness as he watches from afar with a tear in his eye. I'm sorry, Bad Pachamari, for the cardiac arrest you may be feeling.
What else has he got left to shave? You know, his head is already bald. He's going to start hitting skin after that. You know, he's not got any hair follicles left to bet, to gamble on. As Guangzhou Charge take a lead in this final map, 1-0 match point now secured by the Charge. What a way to end things out. The key star player for the Philadelphia Fusion, Zest, dead first twice in a row there. I think Choi got him as well twice in a row.
Yeah, Choi
allowing the
got
Charge
him
of 5v4. Yeah, that just cannot happen. Philly Fusion, they're falling by the wayside. A couple of decent fights there. Good recovery there. Again, they defended well when they were 4v5 the first time. Fixer beats Choi in a 1v1, but beyond that, Charge are not to be stopped. And now Choi will be the one going through onto the Farah. See if this one can last. Zest has the opportunity to go back to spawn for an Echo, by the way, and this is where you would want to play an Echo just to counter out Choi directly.
Concussive Blast. Not going to connect directly right here. Choi Sehwan getting up close and personal. This is where the easy rockets can be found, and that's going to leave Zest low. But in the end, there's no killing blow except onto Farway, delivered thoroughly by Fixer. As once again the dust will settle, Zest takes out Krong, and this should be a first cap for Philly.
Choi's off the map. I think he might change now. It's not working out. The problem here is as you lack the execution damage, unless Jimmy can get the exact same rail on the target that Choi is also putting directs into, it's not going to work out right. We actually saw a number of directs being hit there by Choi. I counted at least 3 directs onto players, which is like 120 damage per. Usually you'd have a Genji here where you see a shot come out like that, a rail maybe connects, a rocket connects, and the Genji gets the dash and kills a member. That just doesn't exist for the Guangzhou Charge. So back towards standard compositions now. Choi loses a lot of ult charge, so he's very far behind Zest.
Zest, plenty of maneuver. Plenty of room to maneuver until Choi Sehwan closes the distance. We didn't expect the speed boost. Surely Krong wouldn't do that. That'd be a right feed. Oh, only for you, mate. The Uno reverse is strong, and AimGod can't get the knockback that he wants. The Inspire's not got the uptime demanded. Fixer comes in to try and remove Jimmy from the playing field, but Jimmy just turns him into Railgun Charge. And Zest arrives just in time to be recycled by Guangzhou Charge.
To die twice in the same fight, unfortunately, and that's going to allow the choice F1 Genji to catch up. Still 21% away, but it's getting there. It's a sad fight to lose for Fusion because they're ahead. Look at that, 4 ultimates to just the 2 from the Guangzhou Charge. Choi had to swap heroes. I mean, if Fusion could commit ultimates in that last fight, I think they win. We'd be up to like 70-80% now for the Philadelphia Fusion, but it's Charge instead. They'll have their 21 working their way up. Fusion have got to pull the trigger here. Here comes an initial rally straight into the play. Xerneas to pop that sound barrier, but Jimmy doesn't catch it. Still alive though. Now double support ultimates from the Charge have been expended. Fusion still holding on to fix the sound barrier. That's going to give enough time to at least take down Farway. Choi wants to play, but he's waiting out for the green HP. Is he going to go for this one? 4v5. Now it's a 3v5. And this is where Charge look like they're going to give up the fight instead. Just not enough time, not enough members. And Philadelphia Fusion with 4 ultimates, 3 expended, but they get the win.
Choice A1 can't find the insight that he wants even after Fixer's sound barrier has expired. And now Fury might start to become an issue because Guangzhou Charge, they're going to have trouble avoiding an incoming rampage given their limited number of paths towards this objective.
Choi can't get hit. Choi can't get hit. He's the one guy that can't get hit here because if you want a successful Blade, you cannot get antied here. We've seen plays in the past where Krong just solo Zest, and now, despite Xerneas falling, the trades are there. Charge for this one. Fury trying to respond. Double catch. It doesn't land with Choi. That means Choi is going to get it done.
In the midst of all of that, tough to see, but Fury, I think, rampaged off the map. I think
wasn't too sure because I think Krong got the kill feed with the melee.
I think Krong got credit from just meleeing him as he went past, so it counted as like Krong-induced movement.
You remember,
but, not ideal.
You remember how you brought up? Did you bring up Fury off the map?
Yes, I did on Circuit Royale. That is.
You've speaked it into existence now.
It's
been spoken into existence. He's been taunted off, and now Jimmy gets the finishing blow. Says. That has to be reset. Fusion, they can't fight this one. They got to get out of here mighty quickly. They can't afford to lose any other members. They got to get 5 alive. This Charge, got to force the issue. Otherwise, it's 3 that's been caught. Can't they? Burns the overclock, and now his life has been burned away. Charge, they got this one, 85%. But Krong's dead, so Charge, they can't spawn hold. They need their tank. Got to give Fusion some space. It will be a final contest. Who's touching? Is it Fixer? Is it Zest?
A ragtag band of rebels made from a box of scraps in a cave versus Philadelphia Fusion. Fury looks for the opening, but AimGod's already gone down to the bottom of Lijiang Tower. There's nothing to bring it back now. It's all crying. It's Krong who finishes it. The man who got so thoroughly diffed on Paraiso comes back with a vengeance. Guangzhou Charge have made Philadelphia Fusion look foolish.
Hitting a charge shot against a target no larger than Womprat. The Rebels do indeed block the Death Star of T1, Philadelphia Fusion. Unfortunately, the T1 org as well, losing 2 matches in one day. The other one was a summer final. This one is just a regular season game, but with, might I say, some mighty implications to making the overall Summer Showdown tournament. It is a sad way to go out, to be sure. But what a win for the Guangzhou Charge. I think this might actually be their first ever reverse sweep in 2 years. More than 2, because I can't remember if they did one in 2020, maybe. But there's no way they did one last year. They certainly didn't do one this year up until now. It's an unprecedented win from the Guangzhou Charge. And the Fusion, this is their 2nd time they've unfortunately lost to reverse sweep. This year, once to the Valiant just a little earlier, and now to the Charge as well. This has not been a comfortable meta for the Philadelphia Fusion at all before. Guangzhou Charge, after much heartache and heartbreak this year, a brand new roster coming in, backing the veterans of Choice One and Krong that have been on this team for so long now. And Charge, they've turned around their fate, and they are finally on the pathway to maybe making a tournament.
A somber mood in the Philadelphia Fusion camp, but between you and me, Avril, it's time for a celebration, because we want to celebrate the avatar of war that rose from the lava flows today. Mr. Jimothy himself, the hit scan boy. We started off on Nepal thinking, Carpe's aiming today. Quick day, after all. And Jimmy said, how about no? It's no surprise that our highlights package here begins on Paraiso.
Yeah, because the first two maps, not a lot of highlights from the Charge, sadly, but the other three maps, I mean, if you just forget the first two maps even existed, this is kind of like a 3-0 mentally from the Charge. Obviously, Fusion will get the 2 map wins, which will help out their record even slightly if they do lose the series, but for the Charge, I think, again, from a mental standpoint, from a psychological standpoint, reset 0-0, doesn't matter that we're 2 maps down. You want a reverse sweep, but it begins from one step, and that first step came through from that glorious map number 3, and we moved through the entirety of the series. And like I said, the deeper we got, the better it looked for the Guangzhou Charge, and certainly the better it looked for Jimmy as well, as he just had the number of all of his opposition. That is stats on Sojourn across 5 maps with just a small smattering of Widowmaker, just a tiny amount of Widowmaker here, and